am. I'm just putting my title up. Good morning.
Good morning.
Today is August 13th. It is the last lecture of the second week of the Freiburg New Church Assembly 2022. My name is Reverend Susannah Currie, and my topic is manifesting dreams. And I think we might need a light on the bulletin board. Do we have the switch for this one? Nope.
There you go.
Oh, great. Thank you. Okay. This week, the topic has been angels, visions, and dreams in the Bible. And we've heard about a lot of visions that occurred to the prophets. And we've heard a lot about the dreams of Joseph, dreams of Pharaoh. And we talked a bit about the angels, particularly the angels at the incarnation who came to the shepherds. And I think that one of the things in our tradition that's so important is how we talk about how the Bible tells our story from Genesis to Revelation. It tells the story of human development, and that we can learn about ourselves through the Bible stories, but we also learn about ourselves through our own personal experiences. So I've recently become involved in an empath group, and one of the things that we did was an exercise called Manifesting Dreams. And since the Bible is giving us the basis of that these are real, these impact our lives, and that we have the opportunity to engage in them, I wanted to share this little practice with you as a way for us to manifest some of our own dreams. Because we learn from Swedenborg that we are co-creators with God of our own lives. So if there's something that we dream of, one of the things that people have complained about in the Swedenborgian tradition, what's the practice? How does it work? How do you do it? So on your papers that you have there, I'd like you to divide on one of your pages into 3 columns. You want 1, 2, 3 columns. 3 is a familiar number. God is love, wisdom, and use. We are recipient beings of our intentions, our understanding, and our activities. So 3 is a very common number, and it is for a reason, because we dream something, which we would call our intentions. And then in this way of looking at it, and we're going to call that intention. And you don't have to write down what I'm writing, because you're going to write down your own dream in a minute. But that I just want to go over the process for you is from having a dream to find a way to, and this is what we call understanding in our tradition, intention and understanding. In this method that I'm learning about, they call this the ritual. That there's some way that we ritualize what we dream. So this is understanding. And then finally, this is the activation. So that in our tradition, we would call that the use. Intention, understanding, and use. Different words, same idea. And what we want to manifest as a dream is the feeling of connection with the universe, with a loved one. And I want you to think back into your life, a time when you felt that perfect bliss of I'm in the right place at the right time, or the feeling of completeness, the feeling of peacefulness. And that may bring back a moment. Now, for me, when I did this exercise, I was remembering an experience from my chaplaincy work. And I'm going to give you the example of the experience because it was very surprising. I was working in an oncology and orthopedic ward, and I met a gentleman who was in the hallway waiting to be transferred for tests, had been in a motorcycle accident, totally covered with bandages, head to foot, except his eyes were showing. And you can see his face, eyes and face. And he was on his way out, so I just stopped for just a brief moment and I said, "God bless you." And this gentleman looked up at into my eyes and he just said, "He already has." Because in his total breakdown of his physical body, he was still alive. He felt the blessing of having survived that accident in that moment. And that moment of my recognizing that someone who was so broken could feel so much of God's love. I mean, I've got goosebumps just telling you about it. So for me, that feeling, that's the dream. I want to reconnect with the feeling with someone else of knowing that God is in this moment. And it was a beautiful moment. Also, when the birth of my babies was beautiful moments. So you're going to all have your own beautiful moment that you connect with. And that's what we're going to identify as a dream. But we're not going to write anything yet. Put your books down. We're going to have a little meditation first. And this is because we all need to be reminded to simply be. And this is from it's from Meditation Oasis, if you've ever wanted to find more meditations. And this one is called Simply Being. And I'm going to use the microphone so I can make it nice and loud for you. So I invite you to put down anything you're holding. Let your hands be loose in your lap, just sort of in the receptive mode. And we're going to just simply be for a little while. And then we'll come back to thinking. And if you have any intention in this meditation, let it be for some memory to come back to you of a time when you felt that kind of connectedness to God and another person or to nature.
Let's begin by finding a comfortable position.
Whoops.
And then close your eyes. This is a time to do nothing and simply be. Letting go of everything that you've been doing. Letting go of everything you think you need to do. Simply be aware of what's going on right now in this moment. Naturally, with the eyes closed, the awareness settles down somewhat. You may be more aware of what's going on within you. Thoughts, emotions, sensations in the body. Simply noticing all of that without trying to change anything, without resisting anything. There may be lots of thoughts going on. Doesn't matter. Don't resist thoughts. Don't try to push them out. And also don't follow them. Just let them go the way they come, effortlessly. Simply be aware of what's going on, not having to label it or evaluate it. Whatever is happening is just perfect. resistance, letting go of any attempt to change anything. This is a time to simply be. Perhaps there are some emotions present. Just allowing them to be there, not resisting them, letting them be felt fully. Noticing what's happening in your body, the sensations you feel. Notice the breath moving in and out of your nose. Simply aware of everything that's going on without resisting anything. Simply being.
Apologize for the abrupt stop. You have a choice of 5, 10, 15, or 20 minutes of simply being, so wasn't really sure where it was going to end. It doesn't, no. We're going to simply be forever. Did that help you to connect to a time, a memory of joy and beauty or love or contentment, something that you'd like to feel again? Okay? And it's not that we are trying to capture that moment and recreate that situation, but what we're trying to pull from our inner selves is what is a dream, an intention that we would like to manifest again. And I'm going to use another example that I came up with when I did this exercise with my class, is remembering for me, the feeling of forgiveness when I've made a mistake and someone says, it's okay, I forgive you. And that feels so good. That feels so good. So I'm going to use that as my intention, is a feeling of forgiveness. Now you are going to find whatever words help you to identify the feeling that you want to recreate. Now, I know I'm going to continue to make mistakes the rest of my life, so I want to go back to this one more than once. I want to continue to open myself to be able to feel the good feeling of forgiveness. And so when we think about how are we going to manifest this, what ritual, what external manifestation, which is what God's wisdom helps us to get to. This is our intention. We feel the fulfillment of God's love in us. And this ritual or understanding is, how are we going to manifest this? What do we need to, basically, what structure do we need to create so that we can activate that feeling? And what I wrote down for with forgiveness, that I have to allow hurt feelings. They have to be honored. You have to know what they are. Did I hurt someone's feelings? Did they hurt my feelings? Let's get that out in the open. And to allow the hurt feelings, and I have here share them, we have to have some kind of way we activate that. Now, if I'm allowing hurt feelings and need to share them, there's going to be some amount of conversation that's going to be happening, because you need to communicate with the person that you want to feel forgiveness with. And then you want to empathize with them. Usually, have you noticed this when there's disconnects between people? It usually goes both ways. Usually both people feel a little bit bad for their part in it. It's not like always one person's fault. So you want to empathize with each other. That, oh, I understand where you're coming from now. And I understand that we both may have things we need to feel forgiveness about. So if in this understanding of ritual, which I think is really interesting, it is having a way that we identify that this will help. And we want to activate a conversation and empathizing with one another. But how are we going to do this? What's the ritual that we're going to create to make this happen? An invitation could be a ritual. I am feeling the need for forgiveness. I need to invite the other person in, and perhaps you sit down and you say a prayer together, or you express your intention that we want to work this out. That in your mind, you want to get to this feeling. You need to allow your own hurt feelings. You need to share with the other person. But how often does it work when you go up in the lunch line and say, hey, we got to talk about this? Not too often. When you say, oh, I understand that I hurt your feelings, like you can say it in a real snarky way that the other person knows you don't really care. But if you, in this allowing of hurt feelings to be real and to share with one another, you want to create some kind of safe space. Now, sometimes a word, how you talk about safe words with somebody who, if I get too out of control, what's a safe word? We can say artichoke and we'll know there's a problem, or something like that. With Dean and I, we have not so much a safe word, but if we have to talk about something serious, we say, we have to go get a baked potato. Because the first time when we were at Temenos and we had to have a serious conversation, we just happened to be having baked potatoes at Arby's. And we said, well, next time we have to have a serious conversation, let's have a baked potato. So it's an identifying with a person in a safe way that says, I have something I need to process to get to the activation of that, to actually get to the conversation and empathizing. I need to have some way to non-judgmentally ask for that, to have a ritual that allows you to move into the activation or the usefulness. It's different. I mean, we've been married 46 years. We've been working on these things a long time. But with friends, too. If you go up to a friend and just say, can we sit down and talk later on? Just to have a little, create the safe space between you before you actually go someplace to have the conversation. It's not this manifesting dreams or the feeling that you want to have, the forgiveness feeling. It needs a process to get to the place where it's of use, but it's not always something with another person. This is an example of it being something where the ritual is, how do I non-judgmentally engage with this other person so that I can get to the place where I have this feeling again, where I activate the forgiveness that was the whole point. And Swedenborg often talks about this in terms of end, and we hear often about cause and effect, but that's just two parts. The end, which is the result you want, comes through the means, which is the ritual, which, that's the cause, as you said, let's find a safe space. The effect is we find the place to have the conversation and empathize, and then we get to the forgiveness. We get back to the end, which was our purpose in the beginning. So I want to do one that has to do with just our own inner life. I am now retired from parish ministry. I don't have to give a message every week. I went and talked to a therapist when I started being retired because I didn't really know how to do that, what to do next. She said, "You've been giving enough messages. It's time for you to receive messages. So what I need is listening." This is a big piece of what I need to work on, is listening. Okay? And so what would be a ritual way to get better at listening? And one is to
Keep your mouth shut.
There's one. Keep quiet. That could be a ritual. And also, slow your breathing. Slow breathing. That's the other thing I came up with as a ritual for. I mean, ritual is a big word. You could use ceremony. You could use practice. There's a lot of words you can use for that. But to truly listen, I need to keep quiet and breathe slowly. And then, where am I going to get to? Presence. If I breathe slowly and I keep my mouth shut, I will have presence and I will hear things. And that presence has within it the listening that I wanted in the very beginning. But I have to do these practices and feel this activation before I am truly listening. It may sound strange to add ritual and ceremony to your life. You know, we're used to, I guess I would say, routines. We're used to routines. I have a little calendar at home that was my grandmother's, and you just flip the tiles for the next day. And I always say the Lord's Prayer when I flip the calendar to the next day. Some days I speed through that prayer like nobody's business. Other days I'm very thoughtful of the words that I'm saying. Other days I run up, get the calendar, flip the things and say, Amen. And you know, it's because we all have different days all the time. But the ritual of getting the Lord's Prayer into my life, because I am an imperfect human being, takes practice. And that's one of my practices. And I'm away from that calendar, so unless we've said it together, I have not said the Lord's Prayer this week. But do you see that the pattern here is that when we want to intend something in the world, when we want to get back to that good feeling, like the feeling of listening, I have to tell you, I have been with my grandchildren this week. And when I have been quiet and slowed my breathing and simply was present, I heard so many wonderful things from those kids. Just beautiful expressions of their life, their inner life, their questions that I wouldn't have heard if I didn't have the intention of listening and moving through the rituals that I need. Now, other people might need different things to receive and manifest the same dream. You might have a totally different ritual for that. Not too many people are going out for a baked potato when they have to talk about stuff. That's just a thing that we do. Are you seeing how the ritual piece can make real the intention? That when we want something to happen, and in this case it was called dream, ritual, and activation. Swedenborg would call it intention, understanding, and use. And these are the ways that we do it. We need to have an inner intention. We need to find a way to do it in the world, to make it a safe space, to make a way for it to happen. And then we can do it. We can find our usefulness. We can have conversations and empathize with each other. We can have presence that then will bring us what we were looking for in the first place. Does anybody have any examples they'd like to share? Today we have the strangest schedule. We are 10:30 to 11, so we'll only have 5 more minutes in lecture mode. Then we'll go into discussion mode while the children have their classes. But if there's anyone who would like to share anything on this, or comment or question, I would be happy to hear it. And Jesse, can I ask you to be in charge of the microphone? Pass this around. Nancy had her hand up in the back. Thanks.
Hi, everyone. I'm Nancy. I read in a book group I'm sorry, I'm trying to find the title of the book, but by Desmond Tutu. I think it's called The Book of Forgiveness. I read with the Freiburg New Church. And he has a different approach to forgiveness, and that I found to be really useful. And it can be one way. And I found that to be really useful. So I was trying to find the title, but I think it's called The Book of Forgiveness by Desmond Tutu. If you're interested in forgiveness, there's also a really helpful video made by Off the Left Eye that talks about the story of Eva Currie. Am I pronouncing that right? She was a Holocaust survivor, and how she managed to forgive the people who killed her entire family, and how freeing it was for her, is letting go of all that anger and hate. And that forgiveness can be freedom.
Yeah. I would say too, in this forgiveness line across, that can be totally within. You're forgiving because you need to let go. And maybe there will be no other person involved. Maybe the conversation is with God. Go ahead. We've got 2 minutes, and you can have the last word.
I just really enjoyed, my intention was to communicate with people when I was here, and I learned from Evan and Jen a lot about their lives, and I know a lot more, I feel a lot more connected to you guys after hearing about the toaster, the RV, and all the different things, and that kind of communication is the connection that comes back to me again and again.
One more word?
So, since we're on the topic of forgiveness, I'm going to ask one of those kind of spiritually naughty questions. So my question is, I get the forgiveness thing about individual, like if the individual spiritual process of forgiveness and the benefits thereof. But we also kind of know we live in an evil world, and the Swedenborg elaborates on nature of evil and all that, which I love. And let's just take it to an extreme and say, 1% of the population is going to be sociopaths. So how do we address these? So, or more, if you knew one of your neighbors was torturing animals, I mean, this kind of leap to forgiveness for society can't happen like turning the cheek. Just there has to be sort of a systematic approach to sort of evil. Did I articulate that all right?
The first thing that popped into my mind in the example that you raised of somebody mistreating animals is mandated reporter. We all should consider ourselves mandated reporters of evil and report that to whatever authority handles that. And yes, forgiveness is not something that is the first step. It's you have to. Swedenborg talks about how we have to see evils to deal with them, but he does say we have to deal with them. And the forgiveness piece, as Nancy brought up, is we need to forgive for ourselves. That maybe somebody's done something totally unforgivable and you can't forgive them, but perhaps you can forgive your feelings of anger and resentment by coming to peace in yourself. Something can be wrong, and you can still come to peace about it if you've done the mandated reporting, done what you can to address the situation. But we can talk more about that at the discussion group, which starts in 1 minute. Although please feel free to have a break and get a cup of tea, and then we'll come back here and we'll circle up and we'll talk some more. Thank you.